Hi, I'm Kyle Z with In Session Audio. Riff Generation's design came through a combination of ideas, all with the aim to making song part creation fun, fast, and rewarding. To create parts where you say, "Oh, that's cool, I don't think I would have thought to have done it quite like that." It's a way to escape our normal approach to writing song parts by breaking free of muscle memory to come up with something fresh, not only in terms of rhythm and melody, but also sound design. To accomplish this, we built four key components into the instrument: an intuitive group of settings that allow you creative control over how the riffs are generated, an easy to use sequencer that can break free from the traditional every step has to be the same length design, a system that automatically adapts any riff to your chosen key and scale and currently played note, and finally, a way to create, visualize, and modify an immense amount of sound design detail quickly and easily. Before I show you the generation process, it'd be helpful to take about another 120 seconds to give you a brief overview of the instrument so you can see how the feature set makes riff generation an easy to use, flexible, and powerful tool. Riff generation works in either of Native Instruments' Contact or free Contact Player software. The library is NKS ready for integration with complete control and machine hardware. The library includes 325 patches organized by tempo. However, any patch can be used at the tempo of your choice. You can use the speed control to slow a riff down or speed it up. 64 of the patches are generation templates, great starting points for a range of riff and sound types. Load one up and press generate to get things started. Should you like to use or create patterns for another virtual instrument, you can drag and drop a MIDI copy of any riff directly into your sequencer. One of Riff Generation's defining features is its ability to switch between 5 different sample sets within the same riff. The instrument has over 250 sample sets to choose from, with the softest sounds at the top of the menu and the most aggressive at the bottom. And of course, Riff Generation has a huge range of effects at the ready. We refer to this area as the dot matrix, and it's where you control the riff sound on a step-by-step basis. Select which sound menu plays, add glide, stutter, and allow a few steps to burst through a delay or reverb. But don't worry about all the options, because the generation process does the heavy lifting here, all based on settings that you control. Finally, most step sequencers only work chromatically. Listen to this short example as I play the first 3 notes of a C major scale from my keyboard. Now I'll set the scale type to major and play the same part. Notice how the notes automatically conform to the scale. Need it in minor? Not a problem. And by engaging the lock, your key and scale selections are maintained even as you change patches. Okay, let's generate a riff. So right now we're looking at a blank canvas with no pattern in the sequencer. If there was a pattern, every step would play the root note at a 16th note length. There's nothing loaded in the sound menus, and the generation options are set to a fairly non-specific, wide-range array. We'll set this up for something with a mellow but dark mood, something kind of ambient. My tempo is 85 beats per minute, and the key and scale are set to D minor. Let's make something that's 8 beats long, has a minimum step length of an eighth note, and a maximum of a quarter. We'll leave dotted and triplet values out of the mix. Let's decide how busy we want the riff to be. I think 75% will be fine. Next, set the velocity range, or in other words, how hard or soft the active steps will be. I typically like to keep things locked in place, so we'll set it like this. Here's where we'll decide the range of pitch movement and how often something other than a root note will be placed into our part. I don't want the riff to play below the root, so I'll leave this at 0. Let's allow it to go up to 8 semitones above the root. This means that 40% of the active steps in the riff will use a pitch other than the root. This can even be adjusted to exclude the root if you wanted, but I think 40% will be effective here. Changing these to yes will allow some steps to be converted from a root note to 12 and -12, or octaves, despite the settings here. I don't think we want any glide in this type of part, so I'll leave it at 0. We'll also leave this section as is. The sound generation category is one of the more important sections, as it allows you to control how many sound types you want in your riff. These correspond to the menus in the sounds area and the dots in the sounds row. Let's go with 4 sounds. The minimum and maximum sound range refers to the sample sets in the sound menus. As I mentioned earlier, the softest sounds are in the lowest ranges, gradually getting more harmonically rich and aggressive as you get deeper. Since we're trying to create something on the mellow side, I'll allow the generation process to use any of the sound sets between 1 and 35. Finally, we can decide how often we want a step to have a delay or reverb effect applied, which we call burst effects. Okay, I think we're ready. Let's see what we come up with. That sounds interesting. I like the yellow sound, but I think I'd like to hear this step up a semitone. And maybe just a little more pitch movement throughout the part. When I play it again, notice how this step combines a delay and reverb burst, creating this sort of atmospheric element. I'd like to develop this idea further, so I'll double the length of the riff and maybe change the first half up a bit from the second. I'll change this to a root note, add a step with an octave, and then let's add some subtle left to right panning throughout. Okay, one more round of changes. Let's add another couple of steps. And let's just add a few more reverb and delays through here. This time around, I'm going to play the part an octave higher, change from D to C and then back to D, and I'll play it with some drums.